So it's about 8 million-ish, right?
That's what the year-over-year estimated revenue is, but last year when we estimated revenue, we estimated it at a little short, we projected it about $1 million less. So,
Okay.
So this is, altogether, 1882 is generating $12 million.
Oh, wow.
Is what the estimated generation of 1882.
Yep.
So
Okay.
year over year, it's closer to $7 million increase.
Okay.
But the total package is a $12 million additional revenue for the district, estimated.
Thank you.
So, I mean, it's been helpful for the district, no doubt.
Yeah.
The child nutrition budget's the next budget we talk about. One thing I'm gonna tie in here on the child nutrition budget is that, so we've had a week of school, right? And we're starting to see how many people are remote and how many students are at school. But with that, when we were doing the child nutrition budget, we factored in that we were gonna have less students going through the meal line. Even though we do curbside and so forth, you have to factor in the fact that we're not gonna move as many meals as we did last year. So I think that seeing how many students we have doing remote, I think the reduction of the child nutrition budget is necessary. So we've reduced the child nutrition budget on the expense side, $595,488. That's specifically related to food cost. If we're not serving as many students, if not as many students going through the line, and we're going to not spend as much. Hopefully not spend as much on the food. Outside of that, we also lowered the revenue for food as well. So I think that as we get more students back in the classroom, child nutrition program will change and the dollars will. But as we have students that are remote, I think we're going to see lower costs, but also lower revenue numbers as well. Anybody got any questions? Okay. And that's a 13% reduction of that program's budget. The next will be the debt service budget. This is straightforward. This is the retirement of our bonds and our interest on our bonds from our programs that we've done to rebuild the district. And we're going to adopt a $21,603,546 expenditure budget. And currently we have $173 million in outstanding principal that's outstanding. So the refundings that we've done, that the board has done, has been tremendous in the amount of interest cost savings that we're going to end up saving the district over time, saving the community over time. That's been tremendous. But this year, we're going to have a $21,603,546 interest and principal budget for debt service. Any questions? The total budget that we're going to be asking the board to adopt is $115,789,010. So that's going to be the total proposed budget for both the M&O, food service, and the INS. And the tax rate to cover all of that is the $1.4394 that we're going to propose for the board to adopt as well. And that tax rate is reduction from the prior year as well. We've reduced the M&O, we're proposing to reduce the M&O tax rate from 97 cents to 96.64. So, like I say, in any of the pandemic-related things that are in our future, that are potentially in our future, we have, fund balance, and outside of a black swan event to where our attendance drops off tremendously, I think that we ought to be able to to operate securely for the 2021 school year. Any other questions or comments?
Joe, I think we have one other comment. I'm getting online.
As in the case of schools and districts all over the country, there are difficult decisions to make ahead that affect families short and long-term well-being. We appreciate the good work that's been done. However, unrelated to the pandemic, there are some continuing concerns by myself as well as others in the community about operations of the district. Some which have been addressed and other questions which have been left unanswered when we emailed or, done other contacts with board members. Some things have just still been left. It was reported on the LISD website from the last board meeting that Mr. Jones said there was about an $8 million increase from the 1920 budget. And there's been some concern that, by myself especially, as I've seen the numbers of the $52 million that's been awarded from TEO, which is over a time period of, I think the approval is 3 years, that would be spread over time, but only $5 million of that's going to actually go towards students. I haven't seen the district share anything or promote anything on the website specifically about that and address that. And I think that's something we need to address to the community because, just on a rough estimate, 52 million divided by 3 is more than $8 million in a year. So, that's just basic. I'm not going to get into the details on that. I know that your job is to do that and to figure it out, but I do think it's something that needs to be publicly shared about what's happening with that money and what money that was previously used for within the tax budget that we already had by normal taxes from property taxes from people who live in the district to see what's happening with the money that used to be used for staff pay for payroll and where it's going now. I think that needs to be explained better to the community as an accountability measure, as elected officials in the community. That would mean a lot to those who, are taxpayers and they care about what's happening with taxpayers' money, whether they actually live in the district or not, because that $52 million is not just coming from taxpayers in our district, it's also coming from taxpayers all over Texas. I know that, there is some reduction in things, and I'm grateful for the things that are being done with the money that are good, but I hope there's more accountability to what can be used in the long term for students. I wanted to make sure that the board members were aware of it as well. So, because that's what I know from as a parent, and as somebody who talks to a lot of other parents and what their experiences are, that it needed to be shared. Thank you for your time, and God bless you all through this crazy time. I hope it gets better.
Thank you.
Did anybody have anything to respond to that? I noted a couple of questions that she had. Hopefully I caught on to was she was talking about the increase in the state revenue. And
Most of them, Michael.
and that increase in the state revenue is budgeted this year, and it's also budgeted on the expense side as well. The partners that we have brought in will manage those funds and direct the spending of their campus budgets, and so there's going to be some outcomes that we've set for them that they're going to achieve. But as far as how they're going to manage those monies. I foresee that being on a day-to-day basis. And then the other thing I think that she was referring to is on our website where we talked about the increase in state funding that we just spoke of, and that was specific to just the 2021 school year because of the fact that we chartered and partnered the rest of the campuses. So,
It's my understanding that that's how it was designed from the start. That's why we're doing this program, is to give the individual campuses, that's what the charter deal is all about, to provide some latitude for them to provide instruction specific for that group of students as they feel like it's necessary. So it's impossible for us to sit here and go, it's going to be spent X. If we did that, then we wouldn't have the latitude to address the problems that occur. So I don't know how the public can understand that.
I think you said it real. I mean, that was very well said, and that's exactly right. You're going. The idea, the big idea, is to leverage high quality, high performing staff and give them the opportunity to step into a role so that they can lead and obviously have the funding behind them to do the things that they want to do. So Dr. Wise last year in school speak was leveraged and put in charge of, the campuses, the ETAA campuses, so that way her model and her leadership could be replicated across those campuses. So that's exactly right, Dr. Mack, that's the whole point of the program, is to give these high-performing partners, staff, the latitude to make decisions.
I know that, the superintendent has set the bar. Here's what's expected. Now, how you get there, we'll give you some leeway on how you get there.
That's exactly right.
Makes all the sense in the world.
We do have some specifics that I can respond to on that. Number one, the International Baccalaureate training is one of the most expensive that you can have. Having been a former teacher of the year in Austin, Texas in science, that type of training is horribly expensive, but it is highly, highly effective as a teacher seeing the results you get with the students. That costs money. That's what we're using on all of our campuses. We've trained every one of our teachers on every one of our campuses. Over $1 million training. We also have the Montessori school. It's one of the top programs that you can have for that age group and up. It's very expensive. Again, you've got very specific equipment, very specific instruction, and even we saw last year before everything shut down, we were getting phenomenal results with our first class coming out of kindergarten. We also, some of the materials and other materials we have are way above normal classroom materials. And that is what's going into those classrooms, but it is up to the schools which way they want to go. But we have some of these things we're doing across the board that are many levels above on the level of some top-notch private schools in the United States that we're doing in a large, low socioeconomic public school, and we're getting results at this point, and I'm going to be real eager to see in the coming years where to go, but that helps.
Thing real quick. It sounds like she just wanted, as I interpreted, checks and balances. If what I'm understanding is looking forward, it's hard to set our checks and balances before we run through this program throughout the year. But as we continue throughout the year, 2021 school year, at the end of the school year, we can actually look at our income, look at our expenses, what we set on checks and balances, here's your results, and we should be able to publish that for the community, and I think that would put her at ease, from what I'm understanding.
Very true.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that, Michael, because that's what's going to happen. We're going to see the campus partners use their budgetary funds to achieve the outcomes, to get success. And next year, this time, we'll have an idea of how that money was spent. But we do know it will be spent on salaries, it will be spent on supplies, it will be spent on high-performing professional development, and we'll also spend money on transportation and maintenance and debt service and food service. So we're going to operate next year for sure. It's just that the campus budgets will be managed, will be will be moved around and used so that, to get the results that the partners are required to get. So, to that end, we're going to be in a discovery mode for the whole year on how they choose to use their campus budgets.
Thanks for the report.
That's it, we'll close our public hearing. Moving on to action item B.
Move to approve the 2021 budget.
Please, did you get that, Tracy, I'm sorry. Motion by Dr. Young, okay. Further discussion? Those in favor? Do you need to read the resolution?
Aye.
Okay. Anyone opposed? Need to read the resolution?
And action item C.
Oh, Ted says aye.
It's Ted.
Second, on C.
Yeah. I need to make a motion. I move on action item C that the property tax be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 1.4934, which is effectively a 0.60% increase in the tax rate.
Second.
Hey, Jerry. Sorry, we may have to go back on D. We didn't read the resolution. Yeah. How about that? We'll go ahead and do it now. No, we'll be fine. Okay, sorry about that. All right. And budget resolution for 2020-2021 was administration of the Board of Trustees, Longview Independent School District, carefully weighed and considered the needs of the students, this district, and the requirements of the state and federal agencies, as well as effects of inflation, on the costs, and whereas the Board of Trustees is of the opinion and finds that the official budget for the 2020-2021 fiscal year in the amount of $115,789,010 is reasonable and should be approved. Now, therefore, it is ordered and ordained by the Board of Trustees of the Longview Independent School District that the school budget for the 2020-2021 fiscal year in the amount of $115,789,010 hereby adopted and approved by the Board of Trustees of the Longview Independent School District. Thank you. Now back to You've already approved it?
Read it again, the motion on C.
No, we got,
Oh, we got it.
you moved, I second.
Second. I need to read the tax resolution. Okay, for 2020-2021, whereas the Board of Education of the Longview Independent School District has heretofore approved the adopted 2020-2021 budget of the said district, and whereas total valuation of all taxable property rendered for the year 2020 is, gosh, what is that?
$4 billion.
I'm sorry, $4,833,893,786.
Big number.
Goodness gracious. It now becomes a duty of the board to set the tax rate. 1, at the total tax rate grading 1.4394 shall be established and set as a tax rate for 2020 on each $100 valuation of all taxable property located in Longview Independent School District, and appearing on the assessment roll for the year 2020. 2, total tax rate grading 1.4394 shall be levied on each $100 valuation of all taxable property located in Longview Independent School District, and appearing on the assessment roll for the year 2020. 3, that 0.9664 of the above tax rate is hereby specifically levied for the maintenance and operation of the school within the district. And number 4, 0.4730, the above tax rate is hereby specifically levied for the purpose of paying the principal and interest of the tax bond indebtedness of the district. This tax rate will raise more taxes for maintenance and operations than last year's tax rate. The tax rate will effectively be raised by 0.478% and will raise taxes for maintenance and operations on a 100,000 home by approximately minus $4. Thank you. All right.
Move on to action item B. Consider approval of agreement with US Med Test.
Madam President, I'm going to give a short PowerPoint, and the board can follow along, and do not let me go past anything you have a question on.
Okay.
Just stop me right there. That will not be a problem for me. I don't want to go past any question that you might have on this, okay? And we have experts that we're working with. They'll be available online if you have a question that I'm not qualified or capable of answering. Basically, what we're looking at in this COVID-19 crisis is the safest possible learning environment for our students and our staff. And in doing this, I will present something to you today that I feel could be a model not only for Texas schools, but other schools throughout the nation. And to the best of my knowledge, no one in the U.S. has taken these steps in testing, prevention, and prognosis, and also education of their students and their community, and what we can do in dealing with this pandemic. On that second page there, you see the issues and questions, and this is what everyone in the state, everyone in the nation is dealing with in public schools, and none of us have an answer. At least I certainly haven't been privy to anyone that has the answers. All I know is I do not want to see public schools shut down again, and I think we have to be proactive and not reactive to take steps to ensure that those remain open. The current protocol is on our website. All the board members are familiar with that, and basically it is patterned after the recommendation from the CDC, the state of Texas, and the county local health departments. But what we want to do is take that to a more comprehensive diagnostic and follow-up protocol, and we're working with a firm called US Med Test, and they have a number of collaborators and hospitals and other experts at their control, but at the same time working with our local health department and local hospitals. A collaborative effort to make our students, our faculty, and by doing that, our entire community a safer place. There is an existing and expanding occurrence of COVID-19 in Longview, in the LISD schools across Texas, and really across our entire nation. And on the next map, you can see Gregg County is a hotspot, as is Smith. We can't continue to do what we want to do to educate the children in the community and maintain the safety of all our staff members if we can't reverse this trend and get this better under control, in my opinion. And in the next slide, you can see the increases of total cases in Tyler and Longview, and then the slide on the right is Harrison County and Gregg County. Gregg County is the one in the blue. But as you can see, percentage-wise, Harrison County is also rising at a rate that's unacceptable if we can't find a stopping point and send this back in a downward trend. Just some data on where we are with children in East Texas, and I think all of that is unacceptable. The next slide is just some demographics on Longview that you're all aware of. Same thing on the next slide about our LISD students. And the factor is that it's not just a children's disease, or it's not just an adult disease, but it affects everyone. But the children are more likely to be asymptomatic, and they're actively infected with other friends, the adults at school, they go home, their family, and people with underlying conditions are exposed and they never know what happened or where it came from. And that's why we feel that being proactive and the testing and the different protocols that we're asking the board to consider adopting are so important. And the long-term consequences of this disease are not known to any of us yet. We don't know, other than we hear reports of people that it takes months for them to recover. We don't know if that's going to be months or if that's going to be years. But what we plan to do is identify anyone that's positive as quickly as we can, if they're asymptomatic or not, take proper steps to interdict that with the proper medical care. And the program that we're looking at entering into is going to, of course, use our local hospitals and local health authorities, but also have contacts where they can immediately be sent to Dallas or Houston, wherever they might be able to interdict the most serious cases. Hopefully, we won't have any, but we're going to have to prepare as if that's going to happen. And a pretty frightening statistic for me is looking at the fact that approximately 50% of our staff has some kind of underlying high-risk health condition. And then we extrapolate that out into Gregg County, and about half of Gregg County total population has some kind of underlying health condition which will make this disease impact them at a higher level. And I just feel we have to do everything in our power to keep that from happening. We want to have a safe school. We want approximately a third of our students are virtual now, and I do not blame one of them for that. There's so much uncertainty out there concerning this disease. But I would like to see all of our students back in school, but we have to do everything we can for that safe environment. And when we have students that are asymptomatic, there's nothing that we can do currently to intercept that. They just come up here every day and they're asymptomatic, and then they come in contact with a high-risk individual, and that person is ill, and the person that infected it may never even know. Another reason why we have to be more proactive in dealing with this, and a couple of examples are on the next slide. 7 members of a family got it and didn't even know it, and the person that infected them had no idea, and then 4 of them died. And then the slide on the right, 41 people got infected, and the person that infected them didn't know. And that kind of thing happens over and over, and I know all of you are aware of that. The problem is that's going to continue without adequate data on who has COVID-19, who doesn't, contact tracing, making decisions to intercept the disease everywhere we can, and educate and deal with everybody that comes in contact with that person. No one has an answer for us. The state is working on a plan to just track students that have it. Well, as you know, the old saying that I'm sure all of you have heard, that I heard from my grandfather, well, that's like locking the barn door after all of the horses have been stolen. Telling people how many students have it doesn't keep students and faculty members from contracting the disease. That's what we have to stop. We have to identify, isolate, take whatever action is needed to not only prevent the spread of the disease, but treat that person that has it. I don't know of any plan to do that other than what we're talking about here with y'all today. And also I want the board to understand for sure what we're talking about today and what we're asking the board to do is allow us to continue trying to develop a relationship with this company. The action that I'm going to ask you to take today is not formally authorizing anything. When we're not at a authorization stage, we'll have a formal agreement for the board. It will be reviewed by our legal team, and then we'll come forward with the board. What I'm asking y'all for today is authority for myself and the staff to consider and continue our discussions with US MedTest and its affiliated concerns on developing this diagnostic protocol and taking some pretty complicated, some pretty far-reaching steps for our students, our faculty, and our community, and that hopefully we can even share that with others. And you see on the next slide, on the left side, we have a whole list of comprehensive plan, is what we call it, but there's everything there is except intervention before it happens. And that's what we're proposing for y'all today, the additional testing, additional diagnostics, but also working with a group that has medical services for those that need it, and a pre-planned approach to if this person has a serious reaction to COVID, we know exactly what specialist, exactly what center we're going to send them to, and that will all be laid out. And we were having preliminary discussions with the team, and I said, I hope we never have to use that. I hope we never have anyone here that serious, but we need to have a plan if we do, and right now there's not one. That whatever medical care facility that they're in, and they get serious, and then they have to start calling and trying to find a place that they can be sent. But this is going to go from a quick 15-minute, hour, 2-hour diagnostic. You have it or you don't. And that's not 100% accurate, but it will give us something to work from. It's better than we have now. And then at the bottom end of that, this person is critical, and we have to get them to the best place for this condition as rapidly as possible. And that's what I mean when I say a comprehensive approach to dealing with the COVID, our students, our staff, and actually our community. I also want to include in this that we're visiting varsity athletic teams. When they come into Longview, they're given the quick screen when they arrive, and they all get here in plenty of time to get the results back prior to the contest beginning. In football, we're at site 3 hours before the game, as are visiting teams and when we travel. And if this is something that the board approves, I'll be approaching the UIL to include this in their protocol. I have no reason to think that there will be any hesitation on their part because this is going to ensure the safety of the student athletes. If you have the COVID, you certainly don't need to be involved in a sport like football, not only from infecting other people, but what it could do to you for something in your body that you're not even aware of. So we think this can be something that's really impactful for Longview and for the state, and maybe even further. Those objectives are all laid out on the next page, but it can all be summed up into one statement. We want to develop a program better protect the health and safety of our students and all of our staff members. And all that's laid out and coordinating resources and contract tracing and all that, but it's to improve the safety of our students and our staff. What we want to do, we don't know of any other plan. In looking at the credentials of the companies we're looking at partnering with, they certainly have extensive resumes. and we have looked at those. We have also been working with the Commissioner of Education. We've contacted our local political authorities. We have contact with state offices. Senator John Cornyn's office, we've been in contact with him several times. I think some of his staff members are watching this presentation over our live stream, and we're going to ask all of them to work with us because we need help in securing the funding to do this, and that there is available CARES Act funding that went to the state of Texas, and all that money was allocated, but some of those allocations were rescinded. So there is money there that's still dedicated to Texas that if we can get the governor, Lieutenant Governor Patrick, the commissioner, Senator Cornyn's office, if they work together just a little bit, that money could be available pretty quickly for this, because what we're doing or what we're requesting certainly ties into the CARES Act and the funding that was available for that. Now, let me repeat now. All the money assigned to Texas was dedicated, but later several pretty significant pieces of that funding was rescinded for one reason or another. We're asking Commissioner of Education, the Lieutenant Governor, the Governor, Senator Cornyn's office to work in consort to reallocate that money that was already allocated and then rescinded to help fund this project. And our justification and our reason for doing that is developing a system that could change the 2021 school year for the state of Texas and possibly beyond, and we think that's certainly what the money was earmarked for, and nobody else, I've not seen a plan like this. So I am hopeful that if the board allows us to move forward, that we can have cooperation from those level and getting this done, and y'all know how I am. I want to start next week. I don't know if we can move that fast, but every day, another student, another person gets infected, and something could have been done to stop that from happening. So I'll answer any questions. You see the flow chart in the next slide, and
I have a couple
how we're going to coordinate
I have
everybody.
a couple of questions. I like the plan. Number one, how often are we going to be testing our students here at Longview ISD in the district? And number two, what protocol are they going to be used for testing, because so many of the children are asymptomatic? So and they're finding temperature over 90 degrees of a student doesn't seem to be very effective in measuring. So how are they going to do that? I probably need to ask.
Excellent question. We're going to screen every student, every staff member at least once a week, if needed twice. And we're going to, every testing protocol is available through our partners. We will start with the rapid response, the saliva, and we're going to give that to everybody, because most students that are infected are going to be asymptomatic, 100% correct. So we're going to give them the swab, and we will probably do that in the pool testing, if you will, and 4 or 5 will be tested together. If they all come back negative, fine. If there's a positive, then all 5 of those would be tested again, and then if there's a positive, there'll be other protocol to that. Our partners have every test relevant available to them, but every student and faculty member at least once a week, possibly twice if necessary, and or the foreseeable future until this is under control. This may be premature, but I would like to work with this company all the way through vaccine. So hopefully we're looking at a year and a half. Unfortunately, this is how long it may take before stability returns. I don't know. I'm not a medical person. I'm just.
Go ahead, Dr.
James, who will actually administer the test? I mean, we don't have enough staff.
Just 1 second, Junior. We have, Chris is talking.
We don't have enough manpower to test.
Yeah,
Does this company provide the manpower to test?
Yes, they can provide the manpower, and they will also train our 19 nurses in how to do this. But they have, they can set up a lab in one of our empty classrooms, or they have a mobile lab that could come up from Houston and still give the results back in a couple hours or less. Some of the testing can be done by our nurses, and it's just get a saliva swab, put it in the bottle, and taking it to the lab facility, and the lab facility will either be in a local medical facility here, in one of our classrooms, or in a mobile lab, and then results will be back that day, like within 2 hours of getting there. They have that kind of capability.
Okay, so if it's overwhelming for our staff, we can get help in there.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, an elementary campus with,
Yep, that's
700 kids.
We will have a procedure set up when the student comes into school to collect the saliva there where there's not disruptions during the day, and then other more sophisticated procedures or steps as we move forward.
I mean, I'm in favor of checking into this thing. Just a real quick, I know for a fact, and I talked to the kid, a college student that is recovering from the COVID now. And her mother was telling me she got it, and I said, can I talk to her? And I called her. And I said, how bad were your symptoms? And she said, not bad. And this is what she told me, exact words. If it weren't for losing my taste of smell, or my sense of taste and smell, I wouldn't have even gone to the doctor. I wouldn't have done nothing. But the fact that she knew that was a symptom, she got tested. But she said, if it weren't for that, I'd have just felt like I was having a bad day. So the point is, once the symptoms are there, it's too late.
That's right.
We need to, the quicker we can catch it, because I see this thing just snowballing unless we can do what this program potentially could do for us. And that's get the kid out of the environment as soon as there's a symptom, not a symptom, but as soon as there's an issue, and it should show up before the symptoms show up, hopefully. So that protects everybody in my mind.
Junior, you ready?
Yeah.
No, absolutely. We're not going to be treating, we're going to be recommending them to the best medical facilities that we have. All we're going to be telling them, this is a flow chart of medical experts that are qualified to treat this. And also, Jenny, to expand a little further on what you were saying, the highest security will be provided for all the student and all the staff member information. There is a very deep security protocol built into the system that we're using. So all the state and federal HIPAA requirements and everything else will be followed as far as any personal or medical information. And also, when I was talking about the football impact a while ago, I did say varsity athletic participation, and that includes volleyball. At the varsity level, as we get into this, I anticipate the same thing for basketball and soccer. So we're at the beginning stages of this. We don't have all the answers. What we feel like is we need more answers because we admit that we don't have them. And the companies that we're looking at partnering with have been doing this for a long time. They have done this in other places around the world, and we don't want to start out with a rookie crew. I feel like we have very advanced, sophisticated partners that want to work with us in doing this, and all I know is what we're doing now is not it. And as Dr. Mack said, it's just going to keep going if we don't do something proactive to stop the spread. And I couldn't agree more. And I'm just asking the board to allow us to take the first steps forward, and that's going to be more conversations with our partners, contacting Senator Cornyn's office, the governor's office, Lieutenant Governor Patrick, the Commissioner of Education, and saying, let us get started, let us do the advocacy on this, and let's do something to keep education in the state of Texas moving forward.
Okay, I move to approve item D.
Second. Any more discussion? Ted? Is that you, Ted? Troy, okay, I'm so sorry, Troy. Go ahead.
Well, no, what I'm saying, the only one that has personally told me they are 100% supportive has been the Commissioner of Education and senior members of Senator Cornyn's reelection campaign, as well as his staff. Now, what we are asking them for is there were CARES Act funds appropriated to the state of Texas, and they were all allocated. And later, because of a variety of reasons, those approvals to those companies for the expenditure of those funds for various services related to the CARES Act were suspended or withdrawn. That money is still available because after it was approved, it was rescinded. And I am asking those offices to reallocate that money to Commissioner Morath for us to expend in Longview to move forward with this project, with the hope that we can expand that to other districts and move forward to keep public schools open in Texas and moving forward in a healthier, safer environment for our students as well as our staff. Dr. Simmons, if you will, in my conversation with Commissioner Barath yesterday afternoon, he said they have been looking at a way to do this across the state for weeks, and they haven't been able to put anything together like we have with this group, and I don't know all the reasons why they came knocking on our door other than we've been known to step up front and do some things differently occasionally. But the commissioner said they have been trying to study and come up with a plan that was economically feasible for the schools in Texas for weeks. And he is on board and watching what we're doing, and his plan is to replicate this across the state of Texas and then nationally to the extent that it can. But a lot of people don't want to stick their neck out there. I don't know why I do, but I just feel like we have to do something because what we're doing now is not working, Dr. Simmons.
Thank you, Troy. If there's no other discussion from public or anything, all right. Going to a vote? All those in favor? So, I'm sorry, who was that? State your name? Is it you, Tim? I'm sorry, I just didn't know who was speaking. Okay. Okay, go ahead. Yes, sir, thanks, sir. Moment to vote? No, already done. You already voted? He voted out of the vote?
Yes,
Okay.
gotten the votes on. Already voted yes.
Yeah, he did, he motioned it. Did you get the motion on the second on the Tracy?
Seconded it.
Okay. Is you, Troy, and Ted all good to go as far as voting? Okay. Well, I did, but it was moved and seated, so we kind of stopped. Yes, it was motioned, Chris, and seconded by Ava. All those in favor? All done. Yes, sir, thank you. All right, so, yes? You can go ahead. Indeed. Indeed. True, indeed. Okay, well, we're going to move on to, do we, at this point, have any board member special reports? Rick, do you have anything? Right. Okay, go ahead, John. Sounds good, John. Thank you. There's nothing else? The time's now 6:11, we're in closed session. Good, okay, all right, it is 1:25, and we're back in open session. Do we have a motion to approve anything?
I move that we accept the recommendations for faculty, the hires and the rehires as printed.
Okay, so motion over, second by Dr. Mike. All those in favor? All those in favor? Okay. Unopposed. All right, it's 1:25, and we're not convened.